Hey, Roadrunners, welcome back. It's Victory Sunday. Raise your hand for one reason. You're happy we won. You're happy we got a victory, right? Raise your hand if you saw this game coming. Be honest with yourself. Raise your hand if you saw this type of game coming. I know you didn't. Now, you saw my last video, and and it cracks me up because what did I say? I felt like don't be surprised if it's going to be a defensive game. Well, our Roadrunners came out and they were straight. I mean, they were headhunters. They were savages. They were just steamrolling FAU. FAU couldn't do anything. FAU couldn't do anything. I'll get more into the defense and whatnot. But let's talk about another thing. Did it surprise you how few fans were at the game when you're watching this on ESPN Plus? He must have had like 8,000 people there. Look at how many people attend FAU, how many students they have. And I believe that's an on-campus stadium. And that's still all they get. It was a Saturday. It looked like it was a nice day to me. It's Florida. Maybe because the team wasn't all that good. But they were still 2-0 in conference. You still support your school, don't you? I mean, that's common for me to do. I see it with UTSA. Even when we were bad, we had more people in our stadium than they had. Even when we were bad, we had more in the dome in our dark years. Absolutely. I mean, granted, we are back-to-back Conference USA champions. We were 2-0, right? So we have a little bit more going for us, I think, than they probably do because they were coming off a bad season themselves. But maybe Tom Herman's just not good with the fans. Maybe that's where we got lucky. We got a coach that is good with the fans. That surprised me how few were there. Didn't surprise me that our defense didn't necessarily surprise me that our defense showed up because they kind of do this to us, right? There was nothing that we did against Temple that said, ooh, we're back, right? We're ready to go, right? But, I mean, we played pretty good against UAB, right? So, maybe the defense has turned a corner and gotten a chip on their shoulder. I'll talk about Coach Traylor's interview after the game, right? So let's talk about some specifics. It surprised me that I didn't see Kavorian get more carries. I don't know if they were just spreading the love around, but it surprised me that Griffin got so many carries, right? Kavorian had a great game. 10 carries for 50-plus yards. You'll take that every time. Robert Henry had 10 carries for 53 yards. You'll take that every time. That's 20 carries for 106 yards. Griffin had 16 carries for 53 yards himself. So he had 36 carries for 160 yards. You're not complaining. That's 4 yards a carry, right? Over 4 yards a carry. You'll take that. What surprised me was we took a long time to get away from the between the guard run. And when we were running real successful early, they were off tackle. We had to avoid that massive nose guard. But give the coaching staff credit. We made an adjustment. We straight up made an adjustment. That's great. That's awesome. That we did. And that's how we started running the ball the rest of the game. And they were stopping the run, don't get me wrong. Let's talk about the 2 turnovers. I wasn't mad about that long play when we were up, 7-3, right? I wasn't mad about that. I kind of felt like that's an okay time to do it. But I still would have liked to have seen a little bit more commitment early. That's all. That's such a minor nitpick. Minor nitpick, right? That's minor. I can't really nitpick our offensive play calling at all. Not in a game like this. Another thing I will nitpick. Why was Frank still in the game midway through the third quarter? Why was he even in the game on our last scoring drive? Once we got it inside like the 20, it should have been another QB should have come in. Yes, I'll say that. Get them in the game. Keep them in game rep, even if it's just handing off, which is all we were needing to do anyway when we scored that final touchdown. But, hey, it is what it is, and Frank does need his reps, right, because he has missed a lot. So, it's a catch-22 right now for us, right? Like, if this had been Frank coming in and he played all season, played fine all season, right? Wasn't really hampered. Maybe they bring in either McCown or Eddie Lee, and it looked like they'd have brought in McCown anyway. I think I'd be a little different feeling about it, right? I'd be a lot more adamant about not getting our backup QBs in, because we're definitely running back by committee. No, don't get me wrong. Kavorian's our starter. But as the game goes on, he's starter in name only. It's kind of like, we're Spurs fans, right? It's like Manu. Manu wasn't a starter. He was sixth man in name only. He probably played as much as the fifth rotation guy, right? He played a lot, right? So there's probably something to be said about that. And I'm happy about that, because these guys need a lot of reps. Got to stay in the flow. The run blocking was fine. I was happy with that for a team that supposedly had a pretty good defensive line. Now let me see what I saw. You saw Thomas, right? Houston Thomas get a lot of catches. Now, to me, in the passing game and the passing game, to be honest with you, it's going to sound weird, but I think in the passing game, he's better suited than Oscar Cardenas is for us right now. And a lot of that has to do, we need Oscar, who's literally an FCS level tackle with hand skills, ball skills, the ability to run, right? Like if he was in the FCS, Oscar would be a tackle, and they would have tackle eligible plays on every first and goal, second and goal, third and goal, right? They would do that with him, plain and simple. That's what a coach would do at the FCS level. At our level, we use him as a regular tight end because we get the size needed at tackle, right? But as you can see with Houston Thomas, he's a little faster, maybe a little taller. It's hard to tell because he's obviously a little slender. He's more of a classic tight end than Oscar is. But he had a great game. He had some very timely catches. And there's no doubt our future's bright at the tight end position. I'm going to go to the wide receiving core right now. And I said it's all on McEwen. And who really statistically had the best game? McEwen. He had those quiet catches. He had that slant that they can't stop, right? I think he did drop one, right? But because he was so effective, he's that guy that you have to worry about now. Tyke Kellogg down the sideline. Josh Cephas deep pass, right? And then even McCoy got himself a touchdown. McEwen's coming along. We are doing really, really well developing our wide receivers. A lot of that is Frank being able to extend drives. Excuse me. Now, Frank had 2 turnovers, threw the ball, but can't complain about that. The guy hit the pass, right? Tipped the pass. He probably needed to get it out there sooner, but I think the running back was a little too far behind the line of scrimmage and allowed that defensive end to get back to his feet. We didn't cut him as well as we needed to. And a freak play. But have you ever noticed that happens to Frank a lot? Those kind of freak plays happen to Frank a lot. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And we usually win the game still when those freak plays happen. So kind of, are we cursed? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do we want it to happen? Who knows, right? But give it to McEwen for having a great game. He was running great routes. They really couldn't cover him. They couldn't. He had a great game. For us, from the pass catching, the wide receiver position, I'd give him the game ball. I called it out early, right? But in my preview, but I'd give him the game ball. He didn't get the touchdowns, but I give him the game ball because it just did he do anything that you go, oh my God, that saved the game? Oh my God, no. But he just did a lot of the small necessary stuff, like a yeoman's work, right? He just showed up, did his job. So that's my take on that. And it's good to see us getting those kids developed. Right? Now let's talk about defense. What superlative can you use for this defense? Awesome. Savage. Killers. Bullies. There's nothing good enough for their performance against FAU. There is nothing good enough. They came out and they played like somebody peed in their Wheaties that morning. They didn't get breakfast, and Coach Traylor made them run laps. And they were going to take it out on somebody. Oh, my goodness. Booker Brown. Oh, my goodness. Did he have a game pushing the offensive linemen around? Oh, my goodness. Oh. And then Trey Moore. Man, he got himself a few more sacks. Oh, man. Their QB's feeling it. I'm telling you. Their QB is feeling it. And Danye Taylor was all over the field, making open field tackles. You can talk about the sacks, you can talk about the hits and stuff like that, but Danye made a couple open field tackles that could have gone big for FAU. Now, I don't think that FAU gets in the game, but it probably changes the complexion at the moment, right? He made some first down making stops, right? I know Trey Moore is the captain of the defense, and I know Booker Brown had a great game. I know these guys had a great game. I got to look this up because I'm missing somebody, and I apologize on that. Is it Robinson? Evans and Triplett each got a sack. By the way, I tailgated with Triplett's mom and his aunt. Man, they're some crazy girls, man. Let me tell you something. They are so much fun to be around. They're just having the time of their life. And I'll add that at the end of this. I'll add my comment about being able to tailgate with some of the parents. Anyway, so they had some games, and man, I'll tell you what, when Tripp got that sack, I was so happy for him, right? It was a production across the board. But that's where I get back to, it's either Danye or Trey that you would have to give the defensive game ball to. Other than our whole secondary. Our secondary, did we sign guys off the practice squad to cover wide receivers? Because they were covering them. They played great as a core. You cannot give them enough props. I mean, I didn't see this game coming. Not this way, right? I didn't. I'll say it. I didn't. I said, don't be surprised if it's a defensive turnout. Just looking at it, and you could be, because if you look at who we played, who they played, our stats are going to be kind of skewed. But if you look at what they did to USF, if you look what we did to Texas State, you look at what we did to Houston, even though we lost a game, right? The capability was there for this to be a defensive style game. Our defense showed up for 4 quarters and whipped them. Man, as the guy that sits on the 20-yard line behind those defensive players, I am so happy for him. I can't tell you how happy I am for him. I love watching our defensive kids ball out. Man, Danye is going to get a shout out. He got a shout out on social media. I called him out. I got to give him probably the MVP. Maybe if you look at it from a different stat point, look at all the stats and the time situation, but I'd give him the game ball because I really think he was the total glue, right? He made a big play here, made a big play there. He was in position here, he was in position there. So when Trey couldn't get there, when the defensive line couldn't get there, he was there, right? They may have gotten a gain, but he was there to prevent it from being a huge gain. That's what I mean. Now, let's talk about the tailgating. So last week, tailgated, right? Tailgated with Grays. He got himself in the game, got himself a tackle, pass defense. I think he got himself a pass defense. Good to see that. Tailgated with his dad. He's a transfer from Washington, was up in Washington State, talking to his mom. They're from the Victoria area. Talking with the triplets. I'm sorry, I forget the parents' names. I mean, you meet so many people, and I'm bad with names. I got to meet you a bunch of times, and then I'll remember your name, right? I'll remember who you are, but I'll forget your name. Well, he's on the picture here. I think he's like right behind me. Like, yeah, Savion Harris. Kept calling him Savion Smith because there was a Savion Smith playing for Alabama. And yeah, it's a long-running joke. But anyway, one thing with those parents and all the parents and even our previous players is, especially with this staff, they feel like San Antonio is home, right? They feel loved by the fans, by the people around San Antonio, and they feel welcome, right? I think they like our approach to their kids. Yeah, we shout and whatever, and right, whatever, right? But in my area, from the guys that would say some really stuff that was like over the edge to the kids, right, to the players, I don't hear that anymore. Now, winning helps, but I still don't hear that anymore. I think they kind of like either moved out of the city or just decided they didn't want anything to do with tickets, right, anymore, right? They're fun to be around. And they wear their kids' jersey. They go out in the parking lot. And just, they're just parents, right? Think about it if you had your brother out there, right? Or any sport. It's your brother, your sibling, your sister, your big brother, and you hear people yelling nasty stuff at them. They don't feel that because we don't do it, and it's great. And I think we're building that family atmosphere that is, we are roadrunners. Let's go. Birds up, right? All that is working. All that is working in our favor. It's making Coach Trailer's job easier when other parents might talk to current parents. And they say, yeah, you're going to experience that anywhere you go, but let me tell you what we've experienced here. So that's why I say, think about some of the things you might say on social media about any of the people on social media, right? If you want to complain, complain about specific play calling, approaches, and stuff like that. Don't take it out on somebody who might be interviewing the coach on a weekly basis, right? It's not his job to create strife for the coaching staff. Your eyes see what your eyes see. My eyes see what your eyes see. Your eyes see what my eyes see. We know the deficiencies. Certain people just aren't going to do that. We're 13 years in. We're not big enough to have somebody from the Associated Press that really doesn't care, that's just here for a big game, right? That's following the team from afar, right? We got homers that are following our team. Yes, I said it. But guess what? That's what we need. Who else is following us? Who else is following us? Stanford Steve and Scott Van Pelt? Yeah, they give us a shout out once in a while. But are they really following us? Is ESPN really following us? No, not really. They're benefiting off us, but they're not following us. Let's talk about Army. See what LSU did to Army? This is how you complain. LSU went out and treated Army like how you're supposed to treat Army. 6-6 nothing. Whatever. 6-3 nothing. They took it personal that Army was on that football field with them, right? They weren't going to let spunky Army and their attitude dictate that football game to them, right? We just got to beat Army. We got to get a jumbo package. We got to beat Army. And I think our OC, well, maybe last Saturday was easier. I think he may have turned the corner. I wasn't really critical of him early on. I felt like there was really not much he could do until I saw the play calling for Eddie Lee compared to McCown. So I'm thinking to myself, and then I came to the realization they don't have faith in Eddie Lee. And okay, for whatever reason, Eddie Lee's not the guy that they want him to be. So they're going to give him different plays. That's okay. It's what you got to do when winning football. Now, I'm rambling on here. That's okay. It's going to be a longer video because I got plenty of time, right? And I apologize. So stick to it as best you can. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment, like, subscribe. And remember, when teams FAFO, we tend to show up. And if you don't know what FAFO means, you know what FAFO means. And you know what? We may just FAFO this rest of the season and find our way in a competitive manner for the title. Nobody else is looking consistent in conference against conference opponents. Right? That's what I said. Temple was supposed to be easy, wasn't easy. UAB wasn't supposed to be easy. Got the win, got the dub, pretty good dub. FAU wasn't supposed to be easy. Got an easy dub. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. Weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, we're like the Big 12 before it started disbanding, right? Where you had Iowa State beating Kansas State, Kansas beating Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, just crazy stuff like that, right? Oklahoma State not beating the crap out of OU and then still find a way to lose the game, right? Just weird stuff like that happening. Maybe that's what the AAC is now. But I do know we've got a shot. I asked myself this question. Did Temple change my opinion? Absolutely not. For my 3-5 conference record? Absolutely not. Did UAB change my thoughts on 3-5 in conference? Absolutely not. Did this game? I think so. I'm gonna be the person. I think so, but I don't know how far to go. Right? Tulsa got handled by Tulsa got handled by Rice. Rice has looked up and down. Eastern Carolina's looked bad, so I think we can take Eastern Carolina still. But I originally said FAU was going to be a loss because of how they looked early on. Team surprised me. We've already got our 3 wins. Can I go 5-3? Maybe 5-3. I think we can take Rice. I know we can take ECU. Now it's going to come down to South Florida. Which South Florida do we get? What do we get from Tulane? Because they're not looking all that unbeatable either, if you think about it. But they may be doing the bare minimum. They may be playing possum. But I am telling you, I am turning bullish on our Roadrunners in conference. I'm happy to say it. I am happy to admit I'm wrong. I have no problem to admit I'm wrong. Now I'm going to go into Coach Trailer. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create 2 videos. I'll talk about Coach Trailer's interview after the game, right? Peace out, Roadrunners. Birds up. 3-0 in conference. Great job, Roadrunners. And as Dos Meep says, FAFO.